For years, law enforcement agencies across North America have searched for one man. A man authorities say built one of the fastest-growing criminal organizations in Mexico. A man whose name appears frequently in intelligence reports and government briefings. But despite years of investigations, raids, and international cooperation, he has remained elusive. That man is Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, widely known as El Mencho. According to authorities in both Mexico and the United States, he is believed to be the leader of the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, commonly known as CJNG. Over the past decade, CJNG has expanded rapidly, becoming one of the most powerful criminal organizations operating in Mexico. Because of this, governments on both sides of the border have made capturing El Mencho a priority. But capturing cartel leaders has never been simple. To understand why authorities are searching for El Mencho, we need to understand the organization he is believed to lead. The Jalisco New Generation Cartel emerged during a period of major changes in Mexico's criminal landscape. In the early 2000s, the Mexican government began targeting major cartel leaders. These operations weakened several long-standing organizations. But they also created power vacuums. When large cartels fractured, smaller groups competed for control of trafficking routes. This environment allowed new organizations to grow rapidly. CJNG was one of them. Within a few years, analysts say it expanded across multiple states and established international trafficking networks. Law enforcement agencies began identifying El Mencho as a central figure behind this expansion. Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes was born in Michoacán, a region that has experienced significant cartel activity. Details about his early life are limited, but investigators believe he became involved in criminal networks during the 1990s. Reports from law enforcement agencies indicate he spent time in the United States before returning to Mexico. Over time, authorities say he built connections with organized crime groups operating in western Mexico. When CJNG began emerging as a major force, investigators linked him to the leadership structure of the organization. His rise coincided with a period when many older cartel leaders were being arrested or killed. This allowed new figures to gain influence. The search for El Mencho intensified as CJNG expanded. Government officials in Mexico and the United States have repeatedly described the cartel as one of the most powerful criminal organizations operating in the region. Authorities accuse the group of involvement in large-scale drug trafficking operations. These operations include the production and distribution of synthetic drugs such as methamphetamine. Because of this, U.S. law enforcement agencies, including the DEA, have placed high priority on dismantling the organization. Large financial rewards have been offered for information leading to El Mencho's capture. These rewards reflect how seriously authorities view the organization's influence. Capturing cartel leaders is rarely straightforward. Organized crime groups often operate through decentralized networks. Instead of a single command center, they rely on multiple regional operators. This structure allows organizations to continue functioning even when leaders are removed. Cartel leaders also rely on secrecy and mobility. They often change locations frequently. Communication networks are carefully controlled. In addition, some operate in remote areas that are difficult for law enforcement agencies to monitor. All of these factors make manhunts extremely complicated. Over the years, Mexican authorities have launched several operations targeting CJNG. These operations involved military forces, federal investigators, and coordinated intelligence efforts. In some cases, authorities seized drug laboratories and weapons caches connected to the organization. Investigations also uncovered trafficking routes that extended beyond Mexico. However, despite these efforts, El Mencho himself has remained out of reach. Security analysts often point out that removing cartel leaders does not always dismantle organizations. In some cases, new leaders emerge quickly. This makes long-term enforcement strategies essential. Because drug trafficking networks operate across borders, investigations often require international cooperation. Law enforcement agencies in multiple countries share intelligence and coordinate operations. The United States and Mexico have worked together for years on investigations targeting organized crime groups. These efforts include tracking financial networks, monitoring trafficking routes, and identifying key members of cartel organizations. Such cooperation has led to numerous arrests. But the search for El Mencho continues. Behind the headlines about cartel leaders and law enforcement operations lies another story: the impact on ordinary communities. Regions affected by cartel violence often experience economic instability and displacement. Businesses close. Families move away. Local institutions struggle to maintain stability. Journalists and human rights organizations have documented how communities caught between rival groups can suffer deeply. These realities highlight the human cost of organized crime. Despite years of investigations, El Mencho remains one of the most wanted figures in the region. Authorities continue to pursue leads and monitor the activities of Chung. But the complexity of organized crime networks makes the task extremely difficult. Removing a single leader does not necessarily eliminate the organization behind them. For this reason, law enforcement agencies increasingly focus on dismantling entire networks rather than only targeting individuals. The hunt for El Mencho is part of a much larger story. A story about the global drug trade, a story about organized crime networks that evolve as quickly as authorities attempt to dismantle them, and a story about communities caught in the middle of a conflict that has lasted for decades. For now, the search continues. Because in the fight against organized crime, the pursuit of accountability rarely ends with a single arrest.